Good morning, everyone. My God, I hope my sleep is fixed now, because fuck me, I have been having a lot of trouble with that shit. It's been very, very difficult when your body's wanting to go to sleep at fucking 3 p.m. in the afternoon or 10 a.m. in the morning, and you're getting up in the middle of the night or in the middle of the crack of dawn. But of course, you didn't come here to find out about my insomnia struggles. No, I want to talk about something that is much more important. What happened outside the Houses of Treachery? I mean Parliament. Or maybe I was right first time. Because anybody who's been paying attention as of late will know that the people who support Palestine were over at Parliament as effectively an angry mob, literally telling the government, you will do as you're told, or we will send the boys round, effectively. Now, I guarantee you, in what I'm effectively dubbing this too long didn't read segment, that if this was any other group, for example, if it was like a right-wing protest, or if it was ordinary concerned citizens who were upset with the way things were going, they would have already brought in the riot police. And I'm not even fucking exaggerating at this point. They would have literally brought them in and started whacking people the first fucking chance they got. Because we all know how two-tier this policing is. And quite frankly, what this boils down to is our politicians are a bunch of spineless fucking cunts. That's what it is. Our government have effectively shown these Gazan cunts that they're weak, they're gutless, they're spineless. Most of the shit, though, we already knew from the start. All they're doing now, though, is displaying it for the whole country to see. And frankly, what we should be doing with these Palestine protesters, if they want to protest about Palestine, why don't you go back to your own country and do it? And for those who are from this country, who want to support these Palestinian cunts, why don't we give them a free ticket over to Gaza? And then we can let them showcase their support for Palestine over there. Bearing in mind that some of these people, I suspect, are homosexuals as well, and I don't think Islam takes very kindly to that shit. While there may not be very many tall buildings over in Gaza, I think we would still see a public stoning all the fucking same. But I digress. I want to reiterate the point that if this was anything other than the Palestinians, the riot police would have been there within seconds. Absolutely guarantee that. And I really could do with this coffee, because fuck me, I am tired. Anyway, I think they don't understand, these pricks in this woke society, how lucky they've got it. Because anyone else would have had the shit kicked out of them at this point. And the sad thing is, our politicians are going to bend the knee to them, as it were. Just like they did to Black Lives Matter. Or maybe I was right again, first time. What is it these days about people who effectively want to support the most woke thing and not even care about their own fucking citizens? Seriously. What we need to do at this point, as I've said before, and we'll say here again, as far as the illegal immigrants are concerned, get gunboats along the channel. Shoot down the boats coming in. Give them one warning. Turn back the boats, or we will sink them. And if they don't comply, sink the boats. Because right now, as far as the immigration's concerned, we all know damn well it's not little children coming along, it's not women and children. No, it's not. It's middle-aged or fighting-age men, fighting-age men primarily, wanting to come over here to claim benefits, get helped out by our treacherous government. Some of them even give them phones. And then there's also what I will basically call a speculative point at this point. There is a point, though, that apparently there are crates going over to these hotels, as I've said before, which some of these could even be loaded with fucking weapons. Which, if that's the case, they're basically loading people up from other countries into these hotels to arm them ready for war. Our government should be prioritising its own people first and fuck everyone else. Because after all, you can't really say you're in a healthy position to help other countries if you can't even stand on your own 2 fucking feet. Thanks, Gordon Brown, for selling off our bullion at a fraction of its market fucking price, you useless, retarded prick. But enough about him. This is not what it's about. The point is, these Gazans would never have gotten away with doing this shit if we actually had politicians who've got a pair of these, whether up here like I have as well as down there, or just down there. We need people who can stand in politics, say it how it is, and basically tell them, no, this is bollocks, mate. This is bollocks. This is what we need to do. We need to sort this country out. Ironically, we need a dictator at this point, and not a dictator like we have with our current government. Because that's the only way we're going to fix this country. I guarantee you, if we had somebody like fucking Gaddafi over in the Middle East, if we had somebody like him before he was dethroned and what have you, I guarantee you this shit would have cleaned itself up long ago. But our media and our government don't want to see that. Our government are more interested in basically protecting themselves than protecting our people. Hell, the MPs were fucking worried that, oh, we're going to get hurt. We might need bodyguards. No, you don't need bodyguards. You need a dose of man-up pill and common fucking sense. That's what you need. We've had to endure this shit. And here you are, worried about your own safety. How fucking dare you? Your duty, Rishi Sunak, as Prime Minister, though I say that in title only, because let's face it, you're not worthy of it. But your duty is to protect your own fucking people and its inhabitants. And finding a teaspoon that I can put this coffee in. Anyway, the point is, he's supposed to be looking after his own people, not himself first. What happened to the good old days when we had people who actually cared for this country? People like Winston Churchill. What happened to all the good men and women that we had in this country? Have they pissed off to other countries, just like my sister? Because that's the thing. My sister's realised what kind of a shithole this country has become. She's actually left, or is currently leaving the country permanently. I suspect it's not even because she's a coward, because she's actually quite capable of facing most of this shit. It's more a matter of she just wants to be happy and all that. But there was a point, actually, whilst I was watching Reverend Simon Sideways, that did spark a little bit of anger in me, quite frankly. I'm not talking about the coffee. I'm talking about what he said about the people who have grown old, who effectively want their few minutes of peace and basically fuck everyone else. Because it reminds me so much of the rest of my damn family. And it sucks. And what's funny is, I think even my mother tried to say, if I actually tried to say, I will fight this shit, she'd said, no, you would cower, you would be terrified. No, I fucking wouldn't. Because I want to fight for this damn country. No matter how fat I am, no matter how unfit I am, and if I get out of breath in 10 fucking seconds, I want to fight for this country. Because at the end of the day, it's our country. I'm not going to let these soy boy cunts ruin it. That's the way I look at it. At the end of the day, they kept saying I was selfish when I went to go and support Tommy Robinson. They said that I was the one being selfish when I wasn't thinking about them and their little minutes of peace. Fuck your minutes of peace. Because if we don't fight, do you think our next generation's going to have peace? Do you really think for 1 second, do you think for 1 fucking second that we are going to have any peace as long as these illegals are flooding in, invading this country, as long as we have spineless politicians who are not willing to do what is right for this country, as long as we don't have people who are willing to fight tooth and nail for this country? I don't think so. I think we need more people who are going to pick up the pitchforks or whatever weapons they can get their hands on and prepare to overthrow this government and throw these cunts back into the sea. And I know there are going to be people who say, you're going a bit far with this. But here's the thing. I'm not afraid of saying that shit. There is only one thing scarier than a man with a cause. And that is a man who has nothing to lose. I may not be all the way there yet, but I tell you what, I am pretty fucking close right now. Between having to maintain this place and trying to find a damn job and getting few to no job interviews with any fucking success. And then, what will they say then? In the media, will they say, oh, he was far right, and that he had a racist view, and that he was indoctrinated, or what's the fucking word they like to use? Groomed into the far right. Do you honestly think that people are going to fall for that shit? What it comes down to is, like I said, we've got to have the brass bollocks to be able to take this issue by the balls and tackle it head on. Because if we don't, this country will fall within the next 20 to 30 years. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. We have to do something about it. We need to get a right-wing party into power. And I don't even fucking care if it's patriotic alternative and it turns out that Mark Collette really is far right. I'm not saying he is, I'm just saying it as a general thing more than anything. Even if he really was far right, and even if he really is a Nazi, which I'm not saying that he is, any party at this point would be better than the weak bunch of soy boy cunts that we've got in there right now in Lib, Lab and Con. We need a fundamentally different party that is going to deal with these issues. Because these guys, these gutless fucks in the mainstream parties are not going to do it. The fact that our government is more worried about themselves getting hurt and more worried about basically sucking the cock of Islam and Gaza and Palestine and all that shit should clearly showcase that our government is not fit for purpose. And until we resolve this issue by voting a different government in, the status quo will remain the same, illegal immigrants will keep invading, we'll have Islam and these Palestinian motherfuckers always basically being the bully boys, as it were, who basically go around and they say, do as we say, or we're going to get fucking nasty. Classic case of a school bully. And I wish I was able to deal with my school bullies. I know now how I should have dealt with them. The closest I got to dealing with the cunts was when I had some asshole literally sitting on my back in a drama class trying to fucking piggyback ride me, and I literally just straight up fucking karate flipped his ass to the floor. Yeah, fat fuck like me. Can you imagine? Jesus Christ. I was a lot stronger back then. Well, I say that, or maybe he was just a scrawny little shit. I don't know. But what I do know is that people started to treat me with a bit more respect after I did that shit, because they realised that I could defend myself. I didn't fully deal with the bullies, but that's how I should have dealt with it in hindsight. And it's how you should deal with these fuckers that come after you now. They are more than willing to turn the screw, as it were, but the moment they're met with equal force, they throw all their toys out the pram. They shit themselves when they realise someone comes up to them and says, we're not going to stand for this. They will run and hide, or they will throw their toys out the pram, or they'll try to get violent or whatever, and we should teach them a lesson accordingly. Meet their violence with their violence. There, I said what Reverend couldn't say. An eye for an eye and the world goes blind. Well, let it go fucking blind, at least until we can find some aesthetics or cosmetics or fucking prosthetics or whatever it is. We can replace those eyes, and then we can finally get back to looking after ourselves without having to look over our shoulder, rather, to these fuckers. Because these guys, now they've realised our government's weak, they're now going to keep applying these threats. They're going to keep doing this. It's like Nigel Farage's saying of, if you pay the Dane Guild, you cannot get rid of the Dane. And that is what our government's done right now. They've paid the Dane Guild, in this case the Gazan protesting wankers, they've paid by showing how weak they are. Now they're going to know that they can walk all over our government like a doormat, and they will do exactly what they ask them to. If they tell them now, you will hand over fucking 500 grand to Palestine, I'm probably sure they would fucking do that shit. Because that's how gutless they are. We need to tackle this at the source. We need to do what Geert Wilders has done. Do you notice how in Poland that everything was going to shit over there? And the moment Geert Wilders comes in, he's basically banned Islam. He is kicking out all the Islamic extremists and anyone who isn't willing to help out in dealing with these extremists. And he's basically getting rid of this woke culture and society that we live in. That's what we need. We won't do that with this gutless politician known as Rishi Sunak still in 10 Downing Street. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this, because you know it's coming, because say it with me folks, It doesn't suit the narrative. We must hit back hard. And the ironic thing is, they've given us all the tools we need, if necessary, to overthrow the government. Think about it. They've said, if they want to deal with the people over yonder, Russia and all that shit, that they should conscript a citizens' army because they were not meeting their recruitment quotas. Says it all, doesn't it? And because of that, if they then say bring the army in, and we get a hold of guns, it's all going to go up. Let me tell you. It's going to go up far worse than what the fucking gunpowder and treason plot ever would have been able to do. And I even said before, and will say again, back when Bojo was in power, the army even said categorically that the vast majority of them would serve the people rather than the politicians. And I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people in our army who do good jobs, who would be willing to support our cause. Because they realise how far down the toilet we are. We're practically round the fucking U-bend at this point. And at this point, they're literally standing over that little flush, and they're ready to flush us at this point. It's your choice whether or not we stand up and fight. And as long as I've got enough coffee in me, I should be able to stand up. Anyway, it's our choice whether or not we fight the traitors in Parliament and these Palestine wankers at the heart. And as I've said before and will say again, while I do not condone violence, I will completely understand anybody wanting to go down that route. And here's the thing. I think we're this close to being at that point. I think there will be a violent revolution. Especially if we don't have the politicians that we need in 10 Downing Street. And as I said, I don't even fucking care if it's Mark Collett himself. Any party that is even slightly right-wing, good God. Any party that is slightly right-wing, not white-wing, God help us all. White-wing is screwing us all. Anyway, any party that is even slightly right-wing leaning, we need in right now. Because I guarantee you, if we continue along the status quo, we will not exist in the next 20 to 30 years. And what's sad is, it's like they made that point in the conscription of we might be called in to fight, or they might try to get the next generation in to fight their war with Russia. No, absolutely not. The whole point of 2 world wars were our forefathers and founding fathers who fought and died for this country. The whole point of them going to war was to make sure that we didn't have to. If they could, well, they've probably already seen what our country's doing right now. They aren't just turning in their graves, they're in a full fucking spin cycle. Like, you literally would not believe how fucking fast they're turning. They're doing more rotations than the bloody moon and the sun has over the last 65 million years. So, what do we need to do? Well, first and foremost, we need gunboats along the channel to stop the illegals getting in. Number 2, we need to basically cast out the religion of Islam. The whole fucking lot of it. And I know there are going to be some people who say, oh, but that's racist. Here's the thing. Yes, there are peaceful people within the religion of Islam. But I made this point before, and I will make it here again. It was like when I mentioned life in a ditch and the police, how there are good policemen out there, but since none of them are willing to stand up against the current situation with the police, in my humble opinion and his, there are no good policemen. It's the exact same principle here. Islam, if they really wanted to integrate with our society, these peaceful Muslims, do you think they'd be allowing these extremists to hide? Do you? I don't think they would, personally. They would expect us to do the same if we had extremist Christians, or extremist Hindus, or extremist Sikhs. If we had any of those kinds of extremists, and we were living in their fucking countries, they would expect us to surrender them, just like that. So I think it stands to reason we should expect the same for these Muslims. We should expect them to surrender the extremists of our group, of their group, hand them over to us, and we will deal with them accordingly. And whether it is through legal means or other means, I'll leave that to you and, of course, our government to decide. Personally, I think the extremists should get a classic rope tie and should be hung from the neck until dead. But that's just me. At the end of the day, these Islamic extremists are against everyone in the West. Hell, they even kill their own fucking people for apostasy. So it stands to reason why I feel this extremely, this vehemently against Islam. I don't think it's unreasonable to want the whole lot of these Islamic extremists hung, drawn and quartered, quite frankly. And I know that's going to make me a target. I couldn't care less. Someone has to say this shit. Because if someone doesn't, then who will speak for the silent majority? Answer that question. And that probably is going too far. But you know what? As I said, someone's got to fucking say it. Who's going to have the brass balls, whether up here or down there, or in my case both, to say this shit? We have to deal with the root cause of the problem. If you had a patient, if you were a surgeon, let's say, and you had your patient laid out here, and you could see they were dying of a tumour located within their body, as long as it was reasonable to do that and save the patient, would you excise the tumour from the body? Or would you just leave it in there and let the patient die? It's a no fucking brainer. Excise the tumour and cast it from society. That's what we need to do. And that can very easily apply to both these Palestinian supporting cunts as well as the religion of Islam itself and our corrupt government. Because until we do that, our country is going round the fucking U-bend. And we're literally just waiting for someone to pull the flush at this point. We need to deal with this. No more sugarcoating. No more pussyfooting around. No more being afraid of being called a racist. But we need to do something that is going to hit them hard. Very fucking hard. And keep hitting them hard. Because that's the only way we're going to solve this issue. We've tried the politically correct route. We've tried the woke route. And go woke, go broke springs to mind. And even to some degree, FAFO, fuck around, find out. Now is the time for action. Find the people in Britain who have got this courage, the balls to stand up for this country and drain the swamp. Because if we don't, this country falls. It's as simple as that. We must cast out Islam entirely. Because like I said, if the peaceful Muslims, if there are such a thing, are not willing to cast the extremists out into the light, as it were, to be a little cliche, but if they're not willing to put them out into the light to be exposed to us so we can deal with them, then there are no good Muslims, quite frankly. Because as I said, any other group of people would have been expected to do the exact same thing. And on a last point as far as the Gazans are concerned, as I said, any other time, any other group of people, the riot police would be there on the spot beating the shit out of them. Not one fucking riot squad pulled up to them, which shows you how far our police have fallen. Nothing short of a complete reform of our government and our police force is necessary. Nothing short will succeed at this. If we do anything less, it's not going to work. And if we don't deal with this, we may not have a generation to look to hold the torch to our future. My name's Dabima, also known as Abba the Rex, and I'm, as always, very bad news for these pro-Palestine fuckers who prioritise their own moral beliefs over their own damn country that they live in. Islam that continues to slay its own people in other countries and continues to want to slay the kafir in the name of Allah Snack Bar. Our crooked police for not having the guts to stand up to these fuckers and for just being two-tier policers in general, and of course our corrupt government who allowed all this shit to happen through their complicity and their treachery. They're all a bunch of traitors at this point. And we need to take out the trash once and for all. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. And most importantly, before I go off and cook the mince I've got over there that's been out for 24 hours, because I'm planning to make a cracking bolognese, most importantly, fuck the government and fuck the police.